The mysterious murder of JonBenet Ramsey that took place Christmas night, early December 26, 1996, is the most infamous murder mystery
of a child.
I think it even beats out most adult cases. It's so mysterious. There's so many twists and turns. There's so many different theories. The night before the murder is December 25th, 1996. So JonBenet Patricia Ramsey was born August 6, 1990 to John and Patsy Ramsey in Atlanta, Georgia. The family then relocates to Boulder, Colorado, where the dad, John Ramsey, was like a successful businessman, and he was the president of, let me read this, Access Graphics, which is a multi-million-dollar computer company. So they were well off.
No, they were very well set.
Which is very important to this story. JonBenet was known for her participation in child beauty pageants, just like her mom. So apparently, and I didn't know this until we were kind of doing some research for the case, her mom was a former beauty queen herself. Yeah. She like encouraged JonBenet to be in the pageants.
Oh, for sure.
And then, you know, if you look at the documentary, I don't feel comfortable showing it on this podcast, but there's like videos of JonBenet like, you know, being in these pageants, and
a lot of other parents had opinions and said, I would never let my child do that. Why would you let your child do that?
And they feel like that's kind of what caused her death as well. Yep. So JonBenet participated in these pageants, and this family seemingly had like a picture perfect family. And then she also had a brother. What was the brother's name? Burke Ramsey. So he was 9 at the time that this happened. JonBenet was 6. So at the time, it's just John, Patricia, JonBenet, and Burke in the house.
Yep.
So it's Christmas night.
Yes.
And they had a wonderful Christmas. And then apparently they all went out to a family friend's house, and they had dinner. Then they came back home. I think they said around 9 p.m. They go to bed. Everyone goes to bed because they have to wake up early to like take a trip.
It's after Christmas.
After Christmas, the next morning, December 26th. So at 5:52 a.m., Patsy Ramsey, the mom, calls 911 in a frantic panic. And she says, word for word, "We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. There's a note left and our daughter is gone." So she explains that she woke up in the morning, walked downstairs, and discovered a 2.5-page ransom note on the staircase.
2.5?
2.5 page. That's a
long ransom note.
Yo.
Because ransom notes are very much like straightforward to the point. Like very like, I have this. I'm not giving it back until you do X, Y, Z. Do not call the cops. Point blank period. The kidnapper.
But apparently this ransom note was 2.5 pages long.
2.5.
And more specifically, it demanded a specific amount of $118,000. It was the exact amount that John Ramsey, the dad's Christmas bonus from Access Graphics was.
Dude,
it's the exact amount, which goes to that automatically.
Who did this man fuck over to get this money that wanted their money back?
That automatically
like
puts it on somebody who knows the family, or at least knows the father. The note was also signed at the very bottom.
Okay.
Victory! Exclamation point. SBTC.
Okay.
And to this day, no one knows what SBTC means.
What the?
Here's a few bullet points that even the cops and everybody was bringing up. One, it was unusually long for a ransom note. Being 2.5 pages. The handwriting was inconsistent, suggesting that someone may have tried to disguise their handwriting. It was written using Patsy's notepad and pen, which was inside the house. And the language was dramatic and exaggerated, referencing movie-like phrases such as, "You will withdraw $100,000 and make sure that you bring an adequate size I'm trying to read this. Attaché to the bank. And do not attempt to grow a brain, John." Now, I don't know what movie that's from.
What movie is Grow a Brain from?
I don't know. I don't know what movie Grow a Brain is from, but it's just an unusual note.
No,
right?
it is very unusual.
So instead of waiting for further instructions, like the ransom note suggests, John immediately calls 911. But I think almost any self-respecting parent would.
Yes, that's very true.
And now we move on to the discovery of JonBenet's body, right? Because I said before that JonBenet was found inside the house, right? So at this point, they don't even know that JonBenet is in the house still.
They have no idea.
They have no idea. They think that JonBenet's gone and whoever left this note took her, right? So the police show up. They start treating this as a kidnapping. They fail to secure the scene properly. Friends and family are walking in and out, potentially tampering with evidence. 7 hours later,
rookie mistakes,
at 1:05 p.m., Detective Linda Arndt, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing her name wrong, told John Ramsey and his friend Fleet White to search the house, which, in my opinion, 7 hours is too long to not search the house. Within minutes, John Ramsey made the horrific discovery of JonBenet's lifeless body found in the wine cellar in the basement. She was wrapped in a white blanket with duct tape over her mouth and a garrote, which is like a strangulation device, around her neck. So autopsy reveals that JonBenet died from asphyxiation, which is caused by strangulation.
Yep.
She also suffered a skull fracture from blunt force impact. And there were possible signs of sexual abuse. The time of death was estimated to be between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So 10 p.m. Christmas night and 2 a.m. the morning that she was reported missing.
What time did the mom call the cops?
She called at 5 a.m. because that's when she found the note. Because that's when they woke up. Now, there's, like I said before, there are multiple theories. But there's two major theories regarding JonBenet's murder.
Right.
And the first theory is some believe that an intruder broke in.
Right. Yes.
And killed her. Right. They broke in through a basement window that was found.
Through a vent in a basement window. I think I remember the
like
documentary.
It's like a small basement window that was slightly broken, might I add.
Yes. Before that they never fixed.
Yes. That John the father was saying that it was broken for a long period of time. So they believe that it came in through there. An unidentified DNA sample was found in JonBenet's underwear, and there's a possible footprint that was discovered near the crime scene. So these are all things that make people believe that it was a random intruder. It was
a random, yeah.
I think theory number 2 is what I would say 70% of people believe because of all the evidence.
Yeah.
Which is that the family did it. Many believe that someone in the Ramsey household was responsible. Some theories include Burke Ramsey, the brother. They suspect that Burke accidentally killed JonBenet, like while they might have been bickering, like sibling bickering.
With the garrote. Yeah.
Exactly.
With the garrote.
Right? Exactly.
Okay. Can we leave that little boy alone, please?
Exactly. Right. And Patsy Ramsey, the mother, some believe that Patsy struck JonBenet in a fit of rage, causing her death, and the ransom note was staged. So here's the aftermath. The Ramsey family went through extreme scrutiny for years.
Yeah.
I mean, even to this day, I think John and Burke up until a couple years ago was still getting a ton of heat. Burke is the brother.
Yeah.
Was still getting a ton of heat because people thought it was him. I think they even released a mini documentary in 2014.
Yeah, I think
trying to accuse him of it.
Yeah, I think he sued one of these news companies and won a major lawsuit because they made it seem like he's the one that killed her when he never really did anything.
Exactly.
He was just a little boy.
Yeah, he was 9 years old, right?
Like you're at 9, you're still innocent. Like you're still.
So
come on.
So the Ramsey family quickly became the center of suspicion.
Yeah.
Facing intense media scrutiny, public speculation, police pressure. That was a big thing, the police pressure. The public perception, I think, is the biggest thing that was that the public perception was the biggest thing that the Ramsey family was facing, right? Yeah. They're a wealthy family, high status people, of a child beauty queen. People were already
watching,
disapproving in a way of that.
Yeah.
Because they were saying, why would you have your daughter acting so grown?
Yeah. Because the little girl had lipstick on. She dressed up a lot. She wore very small dresses and things like that. Which I understand why they would say that, because a little girl with lipstick, it's a little bit
full makeup,
especially red lipstick, mind you.
Yes. And you know, apparently I'm reading here, John read from a prepared statement instead of speaking freely. You know how they do the press conference after the murder and things like that? Yep. A lot of people were saying, why would you have to prepare a speech for your dead daughter? Can't you just speak from the heart? But a lot of that, I think, was, you know, while the police was at the crime scene, right after John brought up JonBenét's lifeless body,
right,
a few of the cops that was inside the house started looking at each other like,
whoa, yep.
Like,
hold on.
I think, you know, this is a murder scene now, and I think we're looking at
the main suspects right here, because there's no way. Yep.
So when that happened, the police were automatically thinking, you guys did this shit.
Yeah.
So which led to John and Patsy. I don't know who gave them, I think it was one of their friends. They warned them. They basically said, hey, you should probably hire a lawyer because these people think it's you.
Yeah.
These people think it's you.
You did it. Yep.
Yeah. So they hired a lawyer, and I'm pretty sure the lawyers who told them to prepare a statement.
Yes.
That way you don't say anything that can incriminate you. Because
even if it sounds innocent and it's from the heart, sometimes like people just say things like, yeah, my beautiful daughter, because every dad that is good-hearted will think their daughter is beautiful.
Exactly.
But people will take it as he was abusing his daughter. It's like, bro.
Exactly.
You want me to say my feelings, but then you want to come tell me that I did something? It's like, damn, dude.
Exactly. So, you know, that was the advice that they got was, you
which
know,
is a
hire a
good
lawyer,
advice.
which I mean it is, but you're just in between a rock and a hard place with that.
It is.
And you know, the Boulder Police Department initially treated the case as a kidnapping due to a ransom note. However, after JonBenét's body was found, they treated it as, you know, a murder, and they suspected somebody in the house did it. And John and Patsy refused to be interviewed separately by police for months. Instead, they hired the high-profile attorney and conducted interviews with the media before speaking to detectives. The Ramseys insisted that police focus on an intruder, while investigators believe that the crime scene suggested an inside job.
That's the thing, right? John is a high-profile executive at his company, so he's gonna feel some sort of pressure to address the public.
Sometimes it's also not even about doing anything wrong. It's like if you're just involved in anything or if you're around anything, and I think that's a good point. I don't think any of the documentaries that we watched did that part of things justice. It's like, when you're right, when you work at a corporate company, if you're an executive, you can't just go out and speak freely on anything. It has to be organized. Your thoughts have to be organized. You have to convey your true emotions, but are not super raw and in the moment, which is why I feel like a lot of people feel disconnected from executives. It feels robotic when they do things sometimes, but it's because they have to, because you're right. People are hanging on to every little word that you're saying. So, and especially if your back is already against the wall, you want to make sure that what you're saying is on point. And I feel like,
and it makes sense.
That's a good excuse for why they would have written down the speech
and address the public first before addressing the police.
Exactly, because the court of public opinion is what might get me prosecuted first. I don't give a fuck. The police could think you're innocent. You're not going to be deciding if whether or not I'm innocent or not in the court. You could think I'm guilty. It's still not you that's going to decide whether or not I'm innocent or not.
And I got a whole nother kid to live for. I can't be just here roaming around for nilly-willy saying everything I feel.
Exactly. Like, a lot of people also felt like they didn't act like the typical grieving parents. Instead of breaking down in emotional distress, I'm reading here, it says they had a calm, well-rehearsed press conference on January 1st, 1997, which was 4 days later. Patsy was dressed in full makeup. Both she and John both read from prepared statements, which led to the question of their sincerity.
The public is saying, why aren't they dressed up and look like they're grieving? Do you know who you're talking to? You're talking to the executive of a company who who probably faces the public or faces like the company a lot and has to dress up very well. And you're talking about a lady who was a beauty pageant person. Like, she encouraged her daughter to do beauty pageants.
So presentation is just a part of their lifestyle.
Presentation is just a part of their life.
Most of the time when crime scenes like this have happened, it wasn't with really wealthy people. Most of the time it's with middle class or low income Americans. So the way that they're presented on TV, it looks a lot different than
it's very sweatpants, scruffy hair, red puffy eyes.
I've been going through it. Yeah. Not the whole, all right, I need to face the public presentably. Yeah. So it was probably the first time that America has really ever seen that.
Something like that, yeah.
So next thing, the handwriting analysis. So remember that pen and pad, that pen and the pad that the ransom note was written on belonged to the mom, Patsy Ramsey. And police and other observers said that the handwriting was erratic and it looked like somebody was trying to disguise their handwriting. So of course they put John and Patsy to the test, right? They said that basically John was ruled out, and Patsy's handwriting had some similarities, but it was never conclusively linked to her. Which, in my opinion, I think things like handwriting analysis is a little tough from the start. Yeah. Now, suspicious actions by John Ramsey. So I wrote down 3. So the biggest red flag came when John found JonBenét's body in the basement.
Yes.
Let me tell you. I mean, I look, I'm not a dad yet. I've also never found,
Yeah.
But, and maybe this is because it's the 90s. Maybe it's because it's 2025. We have a lot more information. We have a lot more examples of things not to do. Mm-hmm. But that's not what you want to do. You don't want to pick up, contaminate. You don't want to include yourself at all if you're innocent. But you also can't tell a grieving father who just found his 6-year-old murdered that you thought was just missing and just $118,000 would fix it, what not to do in that moment. Also, I think it was pretty stupid of the police to send the family members around the house to go look. That's the part that people don't talk about.
That's the dumbest shit.
Hold on, I got a fucking
that's
question.
That's the dumbest shit.
No, I got a question, for real. In what world does the police ever send you to look around your house for your missing daughter that clearly there was a ransom note left for? It's different if they show up to the house. If you go, oh my God, I couldn't find her, like she was in her room and I woke up and I just can't find her. That's one thing. If I'm a cop and I show up, I'm gonna go, let's look for her. If there's a ransom note that clearly says that I took her, I'm not sending you around the house to go looking. Because let's say you go downstairs or you go in a room and you find both of them, the kidnapper and the girl. Fuck are you gonna do? I'm the cop. So I don't know why there's not enough emphasis on the Boulder Police Department fucking up that part of the investigation.
That's complete negligence right there.
Yeah, so they tried to say that him finding the body in the basement was suspicious activity of him. Instead of leaving her untouched body for forensic analysis, he picked her up and carried her upstairs, potentially contaminating crucial evidence, which is true, but you can't tell him when you sent him to go find her and he finds her not to touch it.
Even if you did tell him beforehand.
Not to touch her. This led many to believe that he was staging a discovery. So in 1999, a grand jury convened to investigate the Ramseys further. So this is 3 years after the murder. And they've been going through the media scrutiny for these 3 years since it happened. The jury found enough evidence to recommend indicting both John and Patsy for child abuse resulting in JonBenét's death. However, Boulder District Attorney Alex Hunter, that's the guy that was talking about the bed analysis and everything like that, refused to sign the indictment, citing insufficient evidence to prosecute them. The public never knew about the indictment recommendation until 2013.
That's insane.
Which is 17
talking
years about 17 years later. The public never knew about the indictment. Which would have probably helped with the public scrutiny.
Yeah.
Because if you knew that they wanted to indict them and then you found out that they didn't because there's not enough evidence, your opinion on them slightly changes from them just never getting indicted at all and that theory just looming in your mind and you saying, you see, the rich never get in trouble for what they do. They could do that and not even getting tried for it. It's like they tried to try them for it. There just wasn't enough evidence
to do it.
So them not exposing that until 2013, I think that was a little fucked up.
Yeah. 2008,
DNA evidence cleared the Ramseys. So they had to wait 12 years for DNA to clear them. Mind you, like we talked about before, the DNA evidence technology, police working with other police departments and knowing how to control a crime scene, things like that, didn't start coming more into fruition until the early 2000s. So this is why we didn't get DNA clearing of the Ramseys until 2008. In 2008, an independent forensic lab conducted advanced DNA testing using new touch DNA technology on JonBenét's clothing, including her underwear and long johns, which she was wearing that night. DNA testing revealed they found JonBenét's underwear did not match any Ramsey family members. The same unknown male DNA was also found on her long johns. So they know, okay, it's the same person that did this. It's not like it was multiple people.
Yep.
This suggested that the DNA belonged to an unknown individual, likely an intruder.
Yep.
As a result, the then Boulder District Attorney, Mary Lacey, formally cleared John and Patsy. And Patsy had already passed away in 2006 from ovarian cancer. So she went to her grave still under the public scrutiny. And Burke Ramsey, of any involvement, Burke Ramsey's the brother.
The little boy.
In the crime. So it wasn't until 2008 that all of them technically got cleared.
12 years.
Until they officially got cleared.
Yeah, 12 years.
It was a huge turning point. Because for 12 years, Ramseys were the prime suspects. Yeah. Meaning that
everybody looked at them like it's you.
The Boulder Police Department, everybody, they weren't even looking at the possibility of an intruder for 12 years.
Wasted so much time.
So much time.
And time is important for these things because you never know who it was.
Exactly. So time is of the essence. Now, this was a huge turning point. Critics of the DNA evidence pointed out that the DNA could have come from secondary transfer. Now, this theory is a little crazy.
Okay.
Critics of the DNA evidence pointed out, people that want to pin it on the Ramseys. They point out that the DNA could have come from secondary transfer, i.e., factory workers handling the clothing before it's even sold. I think that is like if I definitely want to indict you was a sentence, that's it.
No, it is.
That is so far-fetched.
Do you know how many times her underwear and her long johns probably had to be washed before she actually wore them the night that she died? So you saying this DNA evidence from the factory workers is a complete in my book.
The crime scene evidence still pointed to a staged kidnapping. And there was still no clear suspect despite DNA discovery. So these are all the reasons that people were thinking that this DNA findings doesn't necessarily clear them because there's more evidence that indicts them than clears them.
Yes.
Which I don't agree with. If the DNA is not there, then you can't say that it outweighs that. We need to explore the other options first now because we spent 12 years on me.
So let's
if I'm the Ramseys,
who else.
if I'm the Ramseys, you already spent 12 years on me.
Exactly.
DNA just cleared me. Can we now focus on the other theory? If you only always keep focusing on me, we'll never solve this. DNA already cleared me. Why don't we find out whose DNA this is? That's the first step to actually solving this now.
Yeah.
Then there was a guy named John Mark Karr who made a false confession in 2006. False confessions always creep me the fuck out because it's like,
you know too much and it's just like, why?
It's like, so you went through all that hassle to know this much about the case to then falsely confess? Like, you're a weirdo for that. John Mark Karr, was a school teacher living in Thailand at the time of his arrest. He had a disturbing obsession with JonBenet and had sent emails to a journalism professor describing himself as the killer. He claimed that JonBenet's death was an accident and that he had been with her when she died. DNA testing immediately ruled him out.
Yes.
He was not a match for the unknown male DNA found on JonBenet's clothing, and his confession was full of inconsistencies, including wrong details about how JonBenet even died.
Boy, bye.
He was also in Alabama with his family at the time of the murder, so it makes his story completely invalid.
Yep.
John Mark Karr was ultimately dismissed as a delusional man seeking attention.
Yep. So
here's where the case stands today.
By the way, he still is a creep.
He still is a fucking creep for that.
And not just that, he was found to be a creep in Thailand and have done some really weird things.
I think he went to jail a few times or got arrested a few times for like child stuff.
Something, Weirdo.
So here's where the case stands today.
Okay.
In 2021, police Boulder police confirmed that they had analyzed nearly 1,000 DNA samples related to the case. As of 2022, there have been new advancements in DNA technology, and police are re-examining all of the evidence from this case. In 2023, JonBenét's father, John Ramsey, petitioned for an independent agency to take over the investigation of the case because he feels like this case has been mishandled for decades.
Yes.
In my
it's been
personal
over
opinion,
20 years.
I agree. 20? 20 years?
Yeah.
Babe, I just turned 28 and this happened a year.
That's
this happened.
what I'm saying.
Oh, damn. No, this happened 2 months before I was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
28 fucking years.
Yeah, exactly. It's been over 20
too
years.
long.
It's damn near about to be 30 years.
It's damn near about to be 30
I'm sorry.
years.
I hate to say it like that, but yeah.
Too long. I don't have a problem with turning 30. I don't know. A lot of people have a problem with turning 30. I'm excited.
You're
excited to turn 30. What the fuck?
Good.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
excited.
And that's 2 years from now anyways.
No, I know, I'm just saying. But yeah.
So despite new leads, JonBenét's murder remains unsolved. So
I have a couple of conspiracy theories.
What do you ultimately think? And I'm going to put my notes away because now it's just going to be us chopping it up. But
Okay.
what's your final consensus? What do you think happened?
Okay, I think one of two things happened. I think one, someone that's friends and family with them didn't, because they would not be most likely in the criminal registry and their DNA would not be sampled. So that's one. They were close enough with them to know the layout of the house, to know the little girl, to know certain things like where the wine cellar is. And then my second theory, which I think is the closest, and I think also the Netflix documentary kind of said the same thing, was my theory is at least that there was an intruder around Christmas time. People have out their Christmas trees, their Christmas gifts. You know, they have things out and about, probably things of value, things of money. You understand? So an intruder came into the house, was like, this is a nice big house, started snooping around, was like, oh snap, found out that John Ramsey probably had a nice Christmas bonus. And then started probably looking through family pictures or whatever. And that intruder was probably a creep. And then he probably saw JonBenet Ramsey's pictures and was like, oh, perfect target. Literally. So he saw the check, saw the amount of money, saw the family picture, saw the little girl. And then it was like, boom. But that's why he probably wrote and everything was weird and panicky and weird because he probably really was just there for the money, but probably ended up killing the girl and had to kind of leave something there. You know what I mean?
I think that this case, it's very disturbing.
Yeah.
And I think everyone will agree that this case is very disturbing. But my theory is, and I'm just going to roll with the most likely theory, if it's not the family. Because there's a 30% chance in my brain that they might have had something to do with it. You can never rule them out.
No, not fully.
You can never rule them out.
Not fully.
However, I'm going to, for the sake of this theory. My theory is that it had to be somebody that knows John. Like you said, somebody that works for him, works with him.
Is around him.
Is around him,
right.
Anything like that. This person clearly broke in while they were not home and was already in the house.
Yeah.
That's a very big house, especially if you look at the layout of the house.
Yep.
The layout of the house is not simple.
No.
The layout of the house has it's very maze-like. Especially when you go downstairs. There's 4 different rooms you can go into, and JonBenét's body was found in one of them. Also not far from what's people deem as the entry point and exit point for the intruder. Apparently, John said that window was broken. The father. He said that window that was used as the entry and exit point was already broken.
Yes.
So that leads me to believe that the person knew it was broken because they know John Ramsey. The person was already in the house for a long period of time. So if the person did not know John Ramsey, they found some piece of paper or something that tells them how much his Christmas bonus was.
Right.
Because in order to write out that that's what you want, you need to know that is what exists.
You want, yeah.
And the only way you would know that exists is if you're the one that gave it to him or you're around him when he got it.
Yeah, or you saw it written down. Or you saw, heard, whatever.
Now, being an executive and then having a child that's a part of pageants and things like that, the girl's in the public eye. And especially if you live in a small town or anything like that, everyone's going to know your daughter.
Yeah.
Which opens you up to all the creeps. Yeah. It's kind of the same reason why I don't necessarily agree with a lot of YouTube family channels that just show their kids too much.
Yeah, that's just...
Because, like, if you live in a small town, then people see your kid all the time. Same reason Casey Neistat used to blur out his daughter's face.
Yeah, which is fair.
So, yeah. If a creep breaks into the house, regardless of when they did it, and they know you and they know what you have, they can kill two birds with one stone.
Yep.
They can try to get the money and still be a creep with JonBenet Ramsey, which is what I believe happened.
Yeah.
When you're executive, sometimes you have a lot of people that's around you that you don't even notice.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people
lay low.
lay
And that's not saying that those people are like
bad.
That they're like nobodies. But what I'm saying is that you interact with so many people, and there's so much people that have to go. Like, it could have been the damn receptionist at your job that, you remember that time I told you? You remember that time I got somebody at the company I was working for's tax returns accidentally sent to me?
Yeah. Yep.
I knew his exact salary. I knew his social security number. I knew his address. The folder I got, I knew where he gambled on the weekends.
You know where he lived.
I knew where he lived. If I was a creep and I was a burglar, or if I was any of that, that was the perfect fucking roadmap for me to do anything.
Anything. You could jump him.
But I'm not, so I deleted the folder.
Right.
And told him, yo, I accidentally got your stuff. So be careful how you sending it around. Pay attention to your folders.
No, yeah. Can't be just sending that around.
So, I mean, it's not far-fetched that some creep got a hold of it.
Yeah.
And just decided to play two games.
Yeah, no, literally.
Which I think oftentimes the truth is a lot less sexy than all these theories.
Yeah, no, it really is.
And I believe in a weird way, people want to believe that the family was that sick just because they were rich.
Yes.
In my opinion, I think if they were not rich, people would not have even been trying to say that.
Yeah, because it's messed up. A lot of people, when bad stuff happens to rich people, a lot of people who are not rich feel like, oh, they deserve that.
Look at the CEO that just died.
Yes.
We're gonna cover that case in a future episode.
Yes.
People are still throwing up memes about how good looking the killer is. Why are we doing that? What the fuck? He just murdered this. He just murdered a family man. When the people from Ocean Gate, was it Ocean Gate?
Yeah.
Where they went down to go see the Titanic? When they went down
to see the Titanic and the thing imploded.
People are laughing at that.
Nah, people are like, LOL.
Making jokes, just because they were rich.
Yeah.
And they're saying, yeah, look at these dumb rich people. It's like, what?
If you had the money, you wouldn't have gone and done it too?
Just because they're rich, they're not human? Wow. So, yeah, long story short, unfortunate case. I do feel like we won't ever, if I'm being honest, I feel like that's one of those cases that will never be solved. Unless
new evidence comes up or a new finding between connecting stuff comes out.
Oh, no, I'm lying. I'm lying. What? For a long time, I thought it would never be solved.
Oh.
But when they caught
the Golden State Killer?
When they caught him, I said,
with the trash can DNA?
There's hope because they go and they get the DNA from a family member, and then they can cross-reference that to people that they think were can be possible suspects. And then they go out of their way to get the actual DNA from you, whether that's a napkin used at a restaurant or whatever. And if it's a match to original DNA, then they can. Well, but if that person is no longer living, it's done.
It's done.
Then this case is cold forever.
No,
and I hate cases that end cold forever.
That end cold.
But I think as long as that person is still living, they will eventually be caught.
No, I really hope it will be solved. I feel really bad for that, for the dad.
Yes. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wanted to at least be solved for the brother and the dad.
Because losing a kid is hard. Losing a family member is hard, but losing a kid is hard.
All right, guys, this has been another episode of Voltage and Villains. If you've enjoyed this episode, like the video. We'd love to hear what you guys think about this case in the comment section. Do you think it'll ever be solved? Yes. What are your theories, right? Or do you have any theories that are, and no theory is crazy, right? I think some of the wildest theories have solved some of the most insane cases.
That's very true.
So drop your theories down in the comment section. We'd love to hear them. And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend.
Last thing, if you have any case you'd like us to talk about, cover, please let us know in the comment section, because I want to hear about some of these cases.
Share them with us in the comment section. Until next time, take care.